Kadosh Erev Tov Masechet Kiddushin Daf Amud Aleph 80A1. The last line on Ayin Tet Amud Bet says Amar Resh Lakish. Resh Lakish comes and he says that when you have the children that are hugging the mother, that they're going around the the arms and the feet of the mother and everything, so therefore you're going to say that listen, that for sure it's the child. So says the Gemara, we're talking about a Kohen that he's testifying about his children, that his children from an Isha Miyucheset. We're going to be somech on a chazakah in order to be giving them terumah, only which are eaten in the gvul, which is outside of Jerusalem. Aval b'yochasin, but to do with genealogy, no, we're not going to be somech on that. For Rabbi Yochanan, which means the father is not believed on the children, even though they're grabbing the mother. They say, yeah, papa, mama. No, we don't, only for kochek gvul, only for things which are terumah, outside of Yerushalayim, not inside of Yerushalayim. But to do Yuchasin, which is the genealogy, they have to bring a good raya. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, afilu b'Yuchasin. Even Rabbi Yochanan. Even for that, it's going to be good that I come and I say, these are his children. Right? Then he says, Ve'azda Rabbi Yochanan l'tameh. Rabbi Yochanan goes according to this. Reasoning, Dama Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Chia bar Abba, Rabbi Yochanan, Malkina lachazakot, v'soklim v'sorfim al-chazakot. Ve'en sorfim truma lachazakot. Listen to this. You could come and you could get lashes on a chazakah. Imagine right now, right? I have somebody that I look at him and I say, there's a chazakah, this is a sister. Or a chazakah, that's it.
How can
you would come and because they were always together, they're always, so you always come and say, okay, this is the guy's sister. And all of a sudden what happens? You could obligate on the chazakah malkut. Or the sister wasn't a good example because somebody goes with his sister, so then it could be even right? But for example, let's say with his wife Nida, she's wearing the white clothing of Nida.
Oh,
we learned it in Smichat Chaver already. If she's going to be lo kashur, she's a Nida, right? And all of a sudden the husband goes with her. We give him malkut. Why do we give him malkut?
How do you know?
We give him malkut on a chazakot because she has a chazakah that she's right now an ida. So he says sochlim v'sorfim. We even do sikila or sirefa also on the chazakah.
Yes, white clothing?
No. On the case of the nida, yes. But sikila and sirefa we also do based on a chazakah. For example, somebody comes into town, right, and he says, this is his sister. And all of a sudden he comes and he has relations with her. We kill him. Afterwards he says, what are you talking about? Stop, I said it. If there's a chazakah that this is what's going on, soklim v'sorfim al chazakot. But, right, 1 second. But, right, he says, but en sorfim truma la chazakot. But you'll never burn truma on a chazakah. Meaning, if a truma becomes tameh, you have to burn it.
Why?
Right? Because that's the Torah. The Torah says when a truma becomes tameh, you have to burn the truma. But person comes and he touches truma and he's tameh only as a chazakah that he's tameh. Not that for sure he's tameh. It's a chazakah that he's probably tameh. So then we don't do that. We don't burn truma on the chazakot. Now we're going to explain each one. Malkina chazakot kerav Yudah. The Amar of Yudah uchzeka nida b'shkunotea. Baruch Hashem. Exactly the case that I told you. She has a chazakah that she's a nida. By the way, from here we brought the proof. If you remember, we brought the proof. Very good. We brought the proof, if you remember, from here that there's no such thing as being embarrassed that you're a nida. Meaning, some people they want to say, you know what, a woman's going to be embarrassed if people are going to know she's a nida. So therefore, even though she's a nida, you could pass her things in front of other people. Why? You don't want to embarrass her. We brought a proof from this Gemara. This was a Ramosha Feinstein, if you remember. We brought a proof from this Gemara. Doesn't exist. Why? Everyone knows a woman is a nida 2 weeks of the month. So what's the problem? So she saw a chazakah. She used to wear certain clothing. She used to know it. Everyone would know it. Not only her, everybody would know, right? So he says, right? He says, so he says, bala lo ke'ala mishum nida. So now all of a sudden the husband has relations with her. What do you give them? Lashes. You don't give him death, right? If a person goes with his wife when she's a nida, right? There's no death. It's karet. But remember, whenever there's karet, and it's a negative commandment, so you get lashes. So the person gets lashes, but there's no death penalty. There's no skila serefayirek bechenek. It's only karet. But if you give him lashes, so then he doesn't get the karet. That's the way it works, right? That's in makot.
So it's
right? For sure, that's what we do. We give them lashes instead of the karet. But if he doesn't get the lashes, then he gets the karet. But that was the first one. Malkin al chazakot. Next, soklim v'sofim al chazakot. Imagine you have a family. They all grew up together. Imagine they came out from out of town. They're all together. Father, mother, children. All of a sudden, niskalim zalzeh. Right now, what happens if the son goes with the mother? He lives with the mother, right? So therefore, we judge it as if it's his mother. So we give him sekilah. V'nisafim zalzeh. What happens if the father has relations with the daughter? So they get srefa. But why? Even on a chazakah, which means they could come to us and say, by the way, we just came together, but really, be'emet, we're not really, father, we're not really related. We just came together and we were living in the same house, but it wasn't. Soklim v'sorfim ala chazakot. It's a chazakah that this is the father, this is the mother, this is the son, this is the daughter. Sekilah, srefa, on a chazakah. It's a chazakah. This is who they are. We already give chazakot. Amar b'shimon ben Pazi, Amar b'shimon ben Levi, b'shimon b'kapara. Says b'shimon ben Pazi, Amar b'shimon ben Levi, b'kapara. Maseh b'isha shebat l'Yerushalayim. There was a story of a woman that she came to Yerushalayim and she had a child on her ktifa. V'gdilato u'ba'aleh. And what happened was she grew him up, and then all of a sudden, when he grew up, he had relations with her. Ve'viyum lebetadin uskalum. They brought them and they stoned them to death. Obviously, remember, stoning really is throwing off the two-story building. If they survive, then they get the stoning. Lo mipnei shebena vadai. It's not because it was for sure her child. Ela mipnei shekaruch achareh. Because he was on her shoulders. Meaning, technically speaking, if you really think about it, maybe she adopted the child. Think about it. She adopted the child.
That's it.
Shalom. If
she's raising up as a child. That's it.
There's no skila for that.
What do you mean? No?
There's no skila for that. If a woman comes and she's me'ametz yeled, there's no relationship. There's no blood relation.
So what is בחזקת בן שלה?
You just said it. Chazakah. Only because of chazakah. If I do a DNA test. If a person does a DNA test and they say, it doesn't matter. Ala chazakah, soklim v'sorfim. We killed them, right? Because of the chazakah. Then sorfim ala truma. What are we talking about? Ala chazakot. What do you mean that you're not going to burn the truma on the chazakot? Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Omer Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Sorfim ala chazakot. Rabbi Yochanan says, and sorfim ala chazakot. Each one goes according to his reason. We learned in the Mishnah Tarot. Tinok sheninsa betzad ha'isa uvatzek yado. Imagine you find a child. Now remember, children, they play with everything. No, they're all the time they're playing things. So imagine you have a child that he's fine betzad ha'isa and he's got batzek. He's got batzek betzid biyado. Rabbi Meir metaher. Rabbi Meir says the child is kosher. Why? Well, not the child. The isa is tahor. He says why? The dough. He says she'ena tinok b'cheskat tuma. Chachamim say it's tameh. Why? Because they come and they touch. They touch creepy crawlers. They touch this. It once happened that a neighbor of mine, they went and they saw that the child was eating something. They didn't understand what it was. They opened up the mouth, it was a cockroach, right? It was children. It was children. They do everything. What do you want? Yeah. So we asked, yeah. It's like chocolate covered with grasshoppers. Yeah. He says, what's the reasoning of Rabbi Meir? Kasavar, he holds rov tinukom metapchim. The majority of children, they play with the garbage. Umiut, the minority, they're good children. They're not going to do it. The isa becheskat tara omedet. So leave the isa on the chazakah. Usmoch miut el chazakah. So put the mute with the chazakah. One more time. Chazakah on the isa. The isa is tahor. Mute, that they don't play around, fool around with little things. You put the mute with the chazakah, the itre ruba, and then it goes against the rov. That you have the rov, that it's going to be probably that it was the majority of the children that they play with the garbage. Rabbanan, but everyone understood what I just said. One more time. You have the majority of children play with garbage. Minority don't. But you have a chazakah that the isa is tahor. Put the chazakah with the mute, put them together against the rov. That's what we're doing. Says Rabbanan, miuta kemandeleta dami. When you have the mute, it's not here. Meaning like this. According to Rabbi Meir, I had majority, minority, put the minority with something else. Says Chachamim, right? The minority is a klum. So it's like it's not here. So I cannot use the minority to come with the chazakah against the majority. I can't do that. You have rov, chazakah, ruba chazakah, ruba adif. Amar Resh Lakish mishum Rabbi Shia, says Resh Lakish in Rabbi Shia, Zoi shesorfim alea et truma. This is the chazakah that we said that we're going to burn it, right, because of the truma. Rabbi Yochanan says, Enzo chazakah shesorfim alea et truma. This is not the chazakah that we're going to burn the truma, which means on this Mishnah, Resh Lakish says that we're going to burn it, which is the chachamim which are going to be mitameh the isa, because they hold that it's tameah betorah vadai. So remember, if it's vadai, you burn the truma. If it's not vadai, you don't burn the truma. Enzo chazakah shesorfim alea. So it says the Gemara. So what is the chazakah then that Rabbi Yochanan says sorfim alea truma? If according to this, Rabbi Yochanan says this is not the case where you're going to burn the truma, what is the case that you're going to burn the truma? So he says, Kedatam, we learned on the Mishnah, Isa betoch habayit, ushratzim u'tzfardeim metaplim, right? Sham v'nimtzeu chatichot ba'isa. What happens if you have the Isa is inside your house, and you have, right, the shratzim u'tzfardeim, right, that they have their limbs in the house, and all of a sudden you find little tiny pieces in the Isa of the limbs of the tzfardeim and the shratzim. Now we don't know what it is. Imrov shratzim tmeah. Imrov tzfardeim tehora. Right? Yes, it's not the shmona shratzim. Right? That's what he says over here. There's only shmona shratzim. Look at number 14. In number 14 he brings down there's only shmona shratzim which are brought down Parashat Vayikra, right? Which is actually the Shavi'i of or not the Shishi or Shvi, I don't remember, it was Shishi or Shvi of Shemini, right? That is actually brought down that mitamim b'motam adam o kelim. So he says, and even the ever of the sheretz is the same thing. Kol shar hashratzim u'tzfardea betocham ena metameim kelal. They're not metameh. But tzfardea is not metameh. One of the shmona shratzim is a tzav, which is domel tzfardea, but it's not tzfardea. So tzfardea is not metameh. So you've got a tahor and tameh. Shratzim is tameh. Tahor, right, is the tzfardea is tahor. So because I don't know which one, it depends on the majority. We also learned according to Rabbi Yochanan, do you know there are two things that you cannot ask, right, whether they became tameh or not? That means like this. According to Rabbi Yochanan, there are two things that if you're going to ask them whether they became tameh or not, the klal is if it doesn't have dat, so it's always sfekot tahor. You can't ask it. You can't ask, did you become tameh? No. You can't ask. Sfekot tahor. We go tahor. And they made it ki'ilu that they have dat. What does that mean? Tinok ve'od acheret. Which means like this. The chachamim come and they say, it's like you have dat lishol. What is the klal? Davar sheyesh bo dat lishol. Yirshut hayachid sfekot tameh. Yirshut harbim sfekot tahor. What are they? Tinok ve'od acheret. Tinok was what we just said. Because even though tinok, you're going to ask a child, did you play with it? A child does not have, he doesn't have that. But we need it ki'ilu yesh bo dat. As sfekot tameh or sfekot tahor, talui b'rishut yachid, b'rishut harbim. B'rishut yachid tameh. B'rishut harbim tahor. No, that's what we're doing. The general rule. General rule. Right? The general rule. Sfekot tahor is b'rishut harbim. Sfekot tameh b'rishut yachid. That's tinok. Ki'ilu sheyesh bo dat lishol. As if that we could ask him and he could answer. Ve'od acheret. What's the od acheret? Mahi? Isa betoch habayit. Ve'tarnegolim mashkim tmeim sham. Imagine you have a masa, you have a dough of truma inside the house. You've got tarnegolim mashkim tmeim. So here you have mashke tameh. You have tarnegolim tmeim in the house. V'nimtzeu pe'amud bet. 80b. V'nimtzeu nikurim, which means the tarnegol was tameh. And now the tarnegol comes and he's doked, meaning you find the peak, the siman, right? Huh? Exactly. How do you say it in English? Okay, it doesn't know. The peak, the whatever it is, the beak. Okay, the beak of the tarnegol inside of the isa. Tolin, we're going to say tolin, meaning it's safek tameh. Lo chlim, lo sofim. You can't eat it, safek tameh, but you don't burn it. Remember, whenever it's safek, you have to leave it to get raw. So you cannot burn it. But you cannot burn it though. Because remember, when it's trumat me'ah vadai, ata chayav yesh mitzvah lisrof et ze. And when it's not truma vadai, asur lisrof et ze. So it's well, yeah, you're not allowed to. You know, because that's kilo you're burning trumat torah. No, הוא היה טמא. הוא היה טמא. לא, הוא היה טמא, הוא נהיה טמא. ואני מזה, איך שהוא נהיה טמא? כן, או מה שיהיה. הוא היה טמא. או גם משקים טמאים. So it says, Amr Bishom Levi says, Lo shanu, what are we talking about? Ela b'mashkim levanim. We're only talking about the mashkim tmeim is a mashke lavan. So since it's lavan, it's not nikar ba'isa. Aval b'mashkim adumim, but if it's going to be adom, im ita denekir, meaning like this. If right now you had the mashkim, and the mashke is tameh, and the Tarnegol takes the mashkim and he puts it in his mouth. And then afterwards, he's going to come and use his same, how do you call this thing? The mouth thing, whatever it is, to start poking at it. If it's lavan, it's not nikar. One second. It's not nikar. So if it's not nikar, right? זה לא אהבת טומאה, לא צריך להיות אהבת טומאה. מדובר על טומאה. לא, זה טומאה. טומאה יכול להיות רביעי. not רביעי, שלישי.
בדיוק.
עד שלישי. So that could be השני. משקים טמאים זה שני.
משקה זה הראשון המקור. תרנגול זה השני, והוא שלישי כבר.
No. The משקה is the מקור. The משקה is השני. When the tarnegol takes the sheni and now he puts it in his mouth to put it inside the isa, that makes the isa shlishi. By truma, it's tofes. Truma, tofes shlishi. By kodesh, it's revi. One more step. Okay? So he comes down and he says like this. He says, right? He comes and he says, right? If it's lavan, lo nikar. Right? If it's going to be white, you can't recognize it. But if it's adom, you could recognize it. So says the Gemara, vidilma bilatino isa. Says maybe you could actually come and swallow with the Isa. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan, davar ze shama berebi. He heard the Rabbi Pirusho, right? Lo shama, lo shanu. When he says he didn't hear from his rabbi, he didn't teach it. Ela b'mashkim tzlulim shebevua shel tinok nikar ba. We're talking about mashkim which are red, which you could actually see the tinok there, which means it's so tzalul that in order to, it would still be mashira siman. Aval mashkim achurim, but if it's going to be mashkim which are achurim, which means, right, that ena isa tmea, because if it was going to be mashkim achurim, you could see it. There's a siman. And the fact that it's a siman, you could see it. Basically, the only difference that we're saying is, it all depends on, is there a siman to know that Be'emet he put his peacock there or not? That's the only thing. Yeah, because basically if it was Laban, or so you don't know. Right. But if it's not, then not. Okay. Fine. Mishnah.
אז רגע, אז אם לא, אז מה אתה עושה עם זה? פוסל או לא פוסל?
תולים.
תולים, יענו...
לא אוכלים ולא סופרים.
זה בזבוז.
משנה. לא יתייחד אדם עם שתי נשים. Now we're getting into something very interesting. ייחוד. You're not allowed to have ייחוד, אדם, even with two women. אבל עם אישה אחת, right? But one woman, מתייחדת עם שני אנשים. He's allowed to have ייחוד with two women. Right? One more time, with two men, sorry. One more time. A person cannot have ייחוד with two women. One man with two women, no. But one woman with two men, yes. Rabbi Shimon says, even one man with two women, it's okay, as long as his wife is with him. Yeah? What?
You're saying if she's one of the two.
No. As long as his wife is with him. Then he says, they can even sleep in the same, same room or whatever it is. Like, why? His wife is going to make sure that he's going to
make sure.
Yeah? 100%. Speaking from experience. מתייחד אדם עם אמו ועם ביתו. He comes and he says, מה? כל אחד אומר ככה.
Why are you being immature?
אתה רוצה לפתוח לנו משהו? זה רק...
He comes and he says like this. כל בן אדם אשתו משמתו.
חצי שעה לא שמרו לשיעור, פתאום ראית?
One more time. כל אחד אשתו משמתו. His wife watches over him. So he said, right? מתייחד אדם עם אמו ועם ביתו. A person's allowed to have ייחוד with his mother and with his daughter. ישן עמהם בקריבו שרי. He's even allowed to sleep with them. So he says, "V'migdilu," but once they become older, zo yishina b'ksuta v'zo yishem b'ksuta. No, then each one have to sleep in there. Exactly. Once upon a time, first of all, there was no. We're going to see the Gemara. Once upon a time, there was no such thing as pajamas, right? They used to sleep bare, and number two also, right? They used to sleep together, right? It was everyone was together. So says the Gemara, "My tama." What is the reasoning? That of the Yisur of Yichud. What's the Yisur of Yichud? Tanat V'Eliyahu. We learned in the academy, the Bet HaMidrash of Eliyahu Navi, Zachul Latov. Chol v'nashim datan kalot alehem. Since women are very easily seduced, so therefore, right, they're not going to be mitbayshot lachto in front of the other one. Wow. Meaning one person with two is going to be a common problem because they're not going to be embarrassed. And therefore you could convince them. And then that's it. Menan, how do we know these words? Amar Rabbi Yochanan mishum Rabbi Shmuel says Yochanan mishum remez liyichud min haTorah. How do we know that it's a sud yichud? Says Shneimar, it says in a pasuk, ki siticha achicha benimecha basetel lemor nelecha benavda loim achirim. Right? Zedvarim Yugimel. So he says over there, v'chi ben, right? Im em mesit ben aven mesit. He says, I don't understand you. Only a brother that comes from the mother, right, is going to be mesit to another brother of the father. Like, what's going on over there? Because they're not, meaning it's only like half brothers. What's going on here? He says, Kisitecha achicha ben imecha, the brother of your mother, like from your mother. What's going on? Half brothers only from the mother, not from the father. What's going on? Ela lomar lecha, but to tell you, ben mitiyached im imo. A person can have yichud with his mother, ve'asur litiyached im kol harayot shebatorah, but he's not allowed to have yisur with any arayot in the Torah. Right? With the mother, they're allowed to. Right? We're actually going to see, I think the Gemara says it, or if not, it's a midrashim that or they should say. But the reason why is because from the place that he came out of, he has no yitzhak.
כן, ומה עם
לא
המלך
יצא
ההוא שעשה?
מה המלך ההוא? You're talking about that was a shed.
טוב,
פשטה דקרא במאי כתיב. מה? פשטה דקרא. You're talking about it was a shed.
מי? איזה מלך?
השמדי, עם שלמה, הוא טבע את בת שבע, זה היה... זה היה גיגיטין. פרק...
מי היה אחד שאין לו, הוא לא זכה לתשובה?
Then he says, Pashta dekra b'may ktiv. What is the pashtut of the pasuk? He says, Amar Abaye says, Lo mibaye kama. Lo mibaye ben av. The sanile. Usually, you don't even have to say it when it's going to be the half brother from the father that he hates him. Right? Why? Because usually half brothers from the father, they hate each other because they have to divide the inheritance.
אז הוא רוצה להפיל אותו.
Right? They have to divide the inheritance. He's going to give him bad advice. Even if it's coming from the mother, that there's no reason to hate. I would say that it's fitting for him to listen to him. So Kamash Malan comes to teach you, right, the pasuk mefurash, that even the itzav, such a brother, don't listen to him. So says the Gemara, the times we learned in the Braita, kol shoshim yom yotze bechek, right, all 30 days, a person will go up to kivura with a chek. What does that mean? In the chek of the people, which means like this. We know that if a person passes away, right, he comes and he says, we're talking about a child. So within the 30 days, it's called a nefel. Why do you do pidyon ben only after 30 days? Because only after 30 days is becheskat chai. Before that is cheskat nefel. So he says, what? What? No. So he comes and he says this. He says, right now, how do they take him out to burial? So they take it out bechek. Kol shoshim yom in the bosom, right, in the chest. That's how they take it. V'nikbar. How do they take the child that just passed away, the baby? The baby passes away within 30 days. How do they take him out to be buried? Bechek. They don't take it out with a coffin and all these things. Bechek. In the bosom. No, בבוסם שלו, בצ'סט.
מה, תופסים אותו ככה, מרים אותו? אני לא מבין.
לא, בצ'סט שלהם, הם עושים ככה והם לוקחים את הילד. כן, בחק.
אז אמרתי חיבוק. אוקיי, בסדר, ככה, כי נושאים אותו.
כן, נושאים אותו ללוויה. So he says, ונקבר באישה אחת ושני אנשים, which means it's enough, 3 people. You don't need a lot of people to come and bury them. אבל לא באיש אחד ושלישי. So again, one time. Yeah, you're right. 1 second. ונקבר באישה אחת ושני אנשים. You could do the burial of 1 woman with 2 men. אבל לא באיש אחד ושני אנשים. Not 1 man and 2 women. So you see from here, the יסוד ייחוד.
אבל אם היא...
One second. So you see from here, the יסוד of ייחוד. Abba Shaul says no. Even באיש אחד ושני אנשים. So the Gemara says no. Afilu tema Abba Shaul. If you're going to tell me Abba Shaul, right? Why does he say that such a scenario? Eshat aninut tvidi yitzreh. A person's on a name. He just lost a child. You think he's going to start now thinking about doing an avera? He doesn't have the time to do an avera. He doesn't have his mindset is not there. He cannot think of that. But according to the rabbis, they hold like Rabbi Yitzchak. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak says Rabbi Yitzchak, Ma'itanin adam chai gevel chata'av. What does that mean? What is a toilet for a person when a person is going to have an inut? When he has his yitzro, you could have a person that even during the time where yitzro mitgaber alav, they have to have it. And that's why if you guys learned Masechet Sukkah, the end of Masechet Sukkah says there was a takana gedolah that they did, that even during that in the Bet HaMikdash, they put a mechitza between men and women. Why do they put to differentiate between men and women? Because when you put them together, the kalut rosh comes and it's going to be the satan. The satan is jumping between them. So what happens? So they went and they made a takana gedolah, and they say that even during the time of the deceased of the satan or all those things, and the time of a hesped, they will still have to be separate. Because even during the time of hesped, you have to keep separate the men and the women. Because if not, you have the Satan coming and jumping around right between.
בגלל זה לא עושים איבנטים מעורבים.
100%.
ועושים מה?
איבנטים וכל הדברים האלה מעורב.
איזה איבנטים?
Abba Shaul,
המבין יבין.
right? Abba Shaul comes and he says like this. 1 minute. Abba Shaul comes and he says, Ktiv v'ahu, right? B'mitraim amidotav ktiv. He says, no, but I thought that pasuk is talking about where the Hanagah, that he has to say that it's min hashamayim. And that's basically, he's thinking that whatever is happening to him is not right, which means he's mitraim al midotav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Which means Abba Shaul comes and he says, Yitzro shel adam nichna b'shat avelut. Meaning when a person becomes an avel, he humbles himself. He humbles himself. And so he says, that pasuk is when he's complaining against Hashem. He's saying it's not fair. Hashem, why did you do this? And that's why it's very dangerous, because during that time, that's obviously there's a bigger thing. Mitraem al midotav, v'chi gavar al chatav, dayo chaim shenatati lo. It's already enough, which means the pasuk has to be read. Which zechut does a person have that he's going to be mitlonen against HaKadosh Baruch Hu? V'chi gavar al chatav, he's such a tzaddik. Dayo chaim shenatati. It's already enough that I gave him chaim. Which means that a person, even during the time when he suffers a calamity, mama, somebody, he cannot go against Hashem. What? He's such a tzaddik that he has nothing, he's no averot, and therefore he's complaining. The fact that I gave him life is already enough. But according to the rabbis, they come and they say that you're not allowed to take out a tinok with one man and two women. They hold, there was a story of the woman. What happened? Right? Right? There was a story with a woman. Right? שהוציאה תינוק חי באומנה לו שהוא מת.
כדי ללכת איתם. נכון, כדי ללכת איתם ליער.
והלך איתה איש לעזור לה לקוברו, and she did it purposely in order to come and do a sin.
בדיוק.
Meaning there was a story. She covered up. She took out a child, כאילו the child was dead, in order to go have relations with this guy. So because of that story, from the city. Remember that all the cemeteries are also always outside the city. Right? So imagine, outside of the city. So she took out the child, Kilu is a dead child, they have to bury them. She goes with her. Not allowed to go. That's why. Avali Shachat. Right? No, but by the way, you should know that the women usually did not go to the cemetery.
That's what I'm saying.
You're correct. In many places in Morocco, women would not go to the cemetery. And until today, women would not go to the cemetery in Gibraltar. Until today. No women in the cemetery. Aval isha achat, but one woman with two men. Amar Rav Yudah Rav says Rav Yudah Rav, Loshano lebekshering. That's only talking about kosher people. Aval beprutzim, people which are parutz parayot, afilu be'asara naminot. Even if you have 10 people, it doesn't help. Meaning, when did the Mishnah come and say it's mutar lisha to be together with two men? Only if it's going to be kosher people. Anashim ksherim. Because if it's going to be anashim prutzim.
לא יודעים, כמו שהרב אומר, אם לא יכולים לבוא לעשרה, אתה כל הזמן אומר, אז יבוא 10 או 20, זה בדיוק
אותם. The Gemara is going to explain. The Gemara is going to explain, say, Aleph Amud Aleph, what are prutzim and what are ksherim. Hava ma'aseh ve'otziu 10 b'mita. There was a story that 10 people came and they took out a woman that she was married on a bed, keilu, that she was dead. So you had 10 men taking a funeral procession. And what was it for? To do an avirah. Of course. Yeah. Amar Rav Yosef says of Yosef, take that you should know the mechabre be'asara that you come, right?
Cancel out the other ones, like the
no,
mother.
No, he says מתחברים 10
הנה, תראה 30 סוטה א' ג'. הנה 30, go to comments 30 in parentheses, סוטה א' ג', בבקשה.
זה לא היה במון.
לא, סוטה.
No, but that's משנה למלך.
זה אותו דבר, כל הבלגן הזה של התחרדוות, שהיא הולכת ורוצה לעשות חואה שוב.
Fine, so he comes and he says now like this, he comes and he says though, right? Amar Rav Yosef, that you should know the michabre be'asara. You have 10 people coming together, vegan ve'keshura, and they come and they start stealing things when they need to steal it together. They're not afraid. Meaning, if you have 10 thieves, you think that they care that they're going to come and they're going to start stealing? They come, they all steal. So we say that this is going to be helping to that which we said. If you remember by a sotah, what do we say? If he's coming and he's taking a livui, the livui is 2 Talmidei Chachamim, right? What does it mean? 2 Talmidei Chachamim. Right? When you used to take a woman to the Bet HaMikdash to drink, right? Let's say a person will take his wife to drink the waters of the Sukkah. He said, so they cannot be together, they're not allowed to live together. Now, not only not allowed to live together, they used to 2 Talmidei Chachamim to go with him. Why? Because maybe she's going to convince him. She's going to convince him to his wife. She's going to convince him the second that he lives with her. The second he lives with her. So what happens? He comes, right? No, be careful with it. He comes and he says, right? The second that he lives with her, the sotah waters doesn't work anymore. So because of that, we give him a livui of 2 Talmidei Chachamim to make sure that he's not going to fool around. Right now, taking those videos, so what is his wife? Yeah, but he's taking her to become sotah, which means that there's a reason for it. Right? So Talmidei Chachamim It's only Tamid Chachamim. You're not going to give them regular people. Because if you're giving them regular people, maybe they're going to do the Avirah. What are you helping?
You need
Exactly. You need Tamid Chachamim. And the last thing it says, Shani Tamid Chachamim, the two Tamid Chachamim, it could be that it's different because they actually know the different halachot, right? They know la tribe, to give him a atrah. And once you give him a atrah, it's going to be a completely different.